in Llandovery market. The sheep are coming through, and there's a lot of talk here today. A lot of chat about the price of the hogget. There's not a lot of chat about the things that have been uppermost in the news really this morning on the radio as I was coming here. The big news of the day is that Prince Andrew has settled with this lady in the United States, Miss Jeffrey, and he's settled the accusation that was against him, and there's not going to be any more action taken. Now, I don't know the ins and the outs of that, and it's not for me to say, and I really wouldn't get involved. But there's this settlement idea. What does it take to settle? We don't know. There's talk of a big amount of money being paid. We just don't know. The thing is this: does that settle it? Well, Prince Andrew has got to live with the fact now that he's lost all his royal titles. He's lost his job, if you like, his public role as a royal. And you have to ask yourself, how much has been settled? It's put me very much in mind of our verse for the day today, which is Matthew 3:8. And what's happening there is that John the Baptist is baptising up by the Jordan. He's preaching a repentance for the forgiveness of sins. It's like Jesus is coming. Boys, you've got to get ready. And here's how you get ready. You turn back to God from your life of doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. And then along come a bunch of guys. And they're a bunch of smug guys. They're a bunch of smug religious guys who reckon that because of their heritage, they were sons of Abraham, they said, who reckon because they keep a fancy outward appearance of great religiosity, they reckon they're going to be right with God. And John the Baptist turns to them and he says, "You brood of vipers, you don't mess about." He tells them straight, produce fruit in keeping with repentance. Now, everybody wants to live a fruitful life, and that's something we aspire to. But John is saying, if you want to live a fruitful life, then you need to be at the centre of it, not talking about how well you're doing, how good you are, how much good you've done, all your shenanigans like that, all the way you impress people, then the way you get brownie points. None of that. He says, fruit in keeping with repentance, a life that's lived conscious of the fact that we're not what we ought to be, and keen to get that sorted out with God, as John was preaching it at the time. You see, sin is ultimately against God. It's a rebellion against God and his ways that we should be living our life. And of course there are people we damage, and of course there are people we hurt when we do things wrong, when we don't live the way we ought to live. And that needs to be put right with them. Of course it does. We need to help them as much as we can because we've hurt them. But actually, the one who's really put out with sin, rebellion against God, sorry, that was a noisy trailer leaving the mart, is God, and getting right with him. That's the key issue. Not going to say, oh, well, we've got a wonderful family, like we are sons of Abraham or whatever it is. Not saying, look how religious I am, or how good I am, or these good works I perform, this virtue signalling, but actually repentance. Produce fruit. A life characterised by the fact I'm aware I'm not what I should be, and I depend on God's grace and mercy to put me right with him. There's the thought for the day. Matthew 3:8. Produce fruit in keeping with repentance. From Llandovery Mart, have a good day.